There is an alarming trend of misinformation, particularly through phone scams, that's disproportionately impacting the Hispanic community. According to a poll scam report, the community experiences mobile phone scams more than double that of non-Hispanics, and they are twice as likely to lose money to phone scams. This is also concerning ahead of election season. To learn how we can protect the community, I'm talking with Senior Executive Business Consultant for Truecaller, Clayton LiaBraaten. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Houston, thanks for having me.
So the big question here is, why is this? Why is the Hispanic community so much more impacted by scams?
Well, so let's talk separate from the election, talk about the election. But what we've seen for several years at Truecaller is that the Hispanic population is disproportionately targeted by scamsters and fraudsters, largely because maybe there's a little bit of a lack of familiarity with the system. There are a lot of intimidation scams, a lot of extortion scams, and frankly, it's a population that spends more time on their phones. And so the bad guys know this. And so they target them, and they target them with IRS scams, they target them with immigration scams, too good to be true scams, and it's become a real problem now. In case you didn't realize it, when you have a very contested election, and this is a very desirable electorate by both parties, and so that just ups the ante for disinformation, as you said, or possibly fake donation scams. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting this vulnerable population against these assaults.
And really quickly, before we get to protecting, we're talking about Hispanic non-English speakers or immigrants, because in Houston, we've got a huge Hispanic population. So who is most frequently targeted?
So when in our surveys and in our systems, we look at the Hispanic and Latino community all the way actually from North America down through our very fast-growing markets in Latin America and Central and South America. But it doesn't necessarily have to be Spanish language, right? These are folks who identify as Hispanic. Sometimes they select the Spanish language in the Truecaller application, and it's multi-generational, right? We see, of course, seniors are disproportionately targeted with Medicare fraud and other types of scams. But the sandwich generation in the middle, the middle-aged folks, they've got kids to protect, they've got their parents to protect, and we just see it across the board. And it is alarming, in our survey with the Harris poll, that we see twice the propensity for financial fraud. We see way more robocalls and robotexts coming into these devices. And so we need to do everything we can to educate them and then protect them with applications like Truecaller, and there are others out there.
And what are some of those ways that we can protect ourselves against scams?
The very first thing everybody should do is get onto the FTC's Do Not Call list. Anybody can go there. It used to only protect landlines, but it also now protects you on mobile calls. And you need to report to that list if you do get a call after you've signed up. That will reduce some of it. Now, these guys are very good technologists with bad intent. They're very good social engineers, and they can circumvent some of those systems. Another thing you can do is just ignore unknown callers. But the problem with that is that you may be also ignoring opportunities. It could be a client, it could be a medical facility. And so if you just ignore the phone, then the bad guys are depriving you of your right to communications.
Well, that's the truth. How can we use technology or tools, though, to help block these callers?
Well, the first I would like to say that the bad guys, as I like to call them, are weaponizing AI, right? We saw this deep fake of Joe Biden's voice in voter suppression exercise up in the Northeast during the primaries. And so we're going to see this increasingly happen. Like they're able to surf social media and create profiles. They know everything about you. And what we do on the other side of that, Truecaller has actually developed an AI call scanner that can detect those deep fakes. Because it only takes about 3 seconds of your voice to suddenly clone it. Also using technology to assess the signals of all those billions of calls we see across the global telecom ecosystem to say, hey, this looks really fraudulent. There's hundreds of thousands of calls coming from one number that lasts 3 seconds. That doesn't seem legitimate.
Yeah. All right. Good information. Clayton LiaBraaten, we appreciate your time this morning. That was very helpful. And we will clip this and put it on click2houston.com for you to watch later as well.